Hey everybody, how is it going? How is it? Wow, that was a little bit of a struggle to say how is it going. I think the addition of Mr. Dennis coming back is throwing me off a little bit. How have you been, Dennis?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. I had a very enjoyable month of July visiting with family and friends out west, and 6,000 miles plus on the car, and that did great. So, except for somebody relieving me of my camera and other equipment, it was a great trip all around.
Uh, people, people. Anyway, hey
Yeah.
guys, we are going to be talking about a couple things today because we do not have a guest today. And what we want to kind of touch on is that I think every single one of us is going to give something that we've noticed that people are struggling about, or we're going to give our opinions on certain things. I do need to let everybody be aware of this. You know, we are going to be talking about certain things that are in the news. These are our opinions. We are allowed to have them. If you disagree with us, please put it in the chat and we will talk about it. None of us are out with any intention to hurt anybody, or and if you feel like maybe we don't have the correct or the whole story, I think every single one of us on this show will invite you to come on and talk to us personally, and express yourself, because this is what this is all about. So we are going to get started though, as we always do, talking with Stephanie, the goddess of the grave. Please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. And Dennis, I'm so sorry to hear about the things that were stolen along your travels. Good morning, Mr. Z. Good morning, Patrick. Thank you, Zach. I'm happy to be here. My name is Stephanie Simoes. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. We are a cause-centered winery out of Napa Valley with over $9.7 million donated to date. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And it's great when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift. It's really a great feeling to know that that bottle is making an impact for a nonprofit organization that's important to you. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. You can follow us on the Community Pay It Forward One Hope fundraising page on Facebook. In fact, this is a really great month to follow us there, because I kind of gave Zach a little bit of a nudge and asked him to talk about his organization that he runs this month. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely jump on there. I'm also the co-founder of PNS Properties. We are a family-run business. That is not me sneezing. That is the baby on my lap, if you can hear that. I'm so sorry. We are a family-run business that's working to curb the homelessness crisis in our veteran communities. We work with HUD-VASH recipients on housing, and we are working to build veteran communities in housing while providing support and resources. A little bit of a new announcement that I'm adding here is that I'm also the co-founder of New Heights Homestead. We are traveling 580 miles with our family to build a mountaintop homestead from the ground up. So if you love animals, natural living, and building, you can follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel to come on the journey with us. This mission in particular is really important to me because in the last few years working in the nonprofit space, I have learned a lot about where our systems are really lacking in support. So it's great that we are, providing education and resources here to hopefully really help bring the number of losses in the other direction with our initiative with Footprints Forward. I wear a lot of hats, so feel free to connect with me through my link tree. All the ways to contact and connect on socials are right there on that page.
Yeah, that is great. And we are going to be playing the Pact episode from this last Wednesday where Stephanie and I do talk about community Pay It Forward, community Dare to Care, and a lot of the other things that we're looking to do. So as soon as this show's over, please check it out because we're going to just jump from one to the other. So, Patrick, my friend, why don't you give us a little bit of information about what you're doing?
My name is Patrick Myers, and I'm the founder of Occult Edge Global. And what we do is we provide as many platforms as humanly possible through media, books, animation for people to tell their stories, and get the information out of the gospel and the impact that it can have in your life. And so right now we have a men's podcast through our media company called Consuming Fire Media, and we have it's called the Men's Pit Ministry Podcast. And this one is just for men to be able to come on and be able to talk about how we can walk together as men, number one, because that is just one of the things that I find out the most with men is that we do not talk to each other. We do not talk to anybody about what's going on in our lives, and it is usually to our detriment. And so we talk about the issues, whether it be lust, whether it be depression. Today, the topic was, hey, why am I suffering? And then we go through the Word of God on why those things are, and we give a worldview, and then we give a biblical view, and it's pretty powerful. It's some things that's changed our lives, just doing the show. The next one we're getting ready to launch here this August is going to be Voices in the Fire, where we are going to have the local community come on and share their stories of how they went through different fires in their lives and how God brought them through it. The next thing that I'm doing is called the Youth Initiative. This is going to be a youth-led podcast, and also on the side a nonprofit mission where we are taking. I did this project called the Missing Voices Project. It's $1 million project where people around the world taught us how to think innovatively and outside the box on how to do ministry outside of the church. Without a lot of the religiosity. That's not a word, but I'm making it up right now. And so, with this right now, we are having kids come to this thing, and last night was so awesome. We were teaching them how to do mind mapping and how to take their ideas from a concept where it's just a dream, and then to be able to put it out on paper and get all those things out in your mind so you can actually take it from concept to an actual to a mission and then a goal that you can accomplish. And watching them just take this idea of going to the elderly and doing art and games and just a kind of program that, you know, these 16, 17-year-old, 19-year-old people, the kids are coming up with this stuff that I would never think of. It blows my mind anytime that you give teens the tools to become what they want to be. It's just, it never ceases to amaze me what they become and the things that the ideas that they have that we are just completely disconnected from. And so right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm having the time of my life. And I'm just a man that loves God and want to tell people about how free they can really truly become and the source that made you.
Yeah, it's always great to have you here. Great to have you here every week. So, man who's been gone for a couple of weeks, Mr. Dennis Schroeder. How are you doing, Dennis?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be part of the community here. And yeah, I was had the great joy and opportunity to travel out west to the Washington State area for the wedding of one of my daughters, and basically took the whole month because it's been a while since I've been out there, and took a nice long drive getting there. Visited with all kinds of family and friends in the Pacific Northwest, and then took a little bit longer drive coming home with stops in Medford, Oregon, Idaho Falls, Idaho, and Emigration Canyon, Utah. So good to be back home, though.
Well, how is your GoFundMe going?
My GoFundMe is, we've got about 2/3 of our goal. We are trying to raise $2,000 to be able to acquire the set of books that we promised our first family that we're honoring. I am the founder of the Price of Freedom Foundation, and we're working currently with 4 Gold Star families. The first family is the family of Machinist Mate First Class Alfonso Abdal Amos, who served 18 and a half years in the United States Navy and was lost at sea. What we promise all of these families is that when we have completed our work and we have a written book that we've produced, that we will gift a copy of that book to them so that they can have something to hand down to future generations. The publisher that we're working with, great publisher out of South Carolina, Palmetto Publishing, their minimum print copy is only 100 books, which most print publishers require 500 or 1,000. So this is the most economical way. And yet it's still to print a hardcover book with the middle section having captioned photographs on glossy paper, something that print on demand cannot do. It's still about $20 per book shipped. So we need to raise $2,000. We have raised $1,330 thus far, so just shy of 2/3 of our goal. And we're still looking for that support to help us get to that spot, so that we can then gift those to the family and those who have participated in the research that we did to bring this book together. We've also been offering those that donate, if they donate $40 or more, then they will also get a copy of the book, because we do not have 100 people that we're promising these books to give for free. So in fact, I'm certain we don't have even 50. So anybody who donates to our GoFundMe cause and wants a copy, they'll get a signed copy from me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Just to let everyone know, the link to the GoFundMe page is in the chat. So go on ahead, or in the comments. So all you got to do is click on that, and it's going to take you to the GoFundMe page. You can support Dennis and everything that they're doing just by simply, look, no amount is too small. This is not some of these bigger organizations where, they're more likely to lose $10 than to use $10. This is an organization that's going to use $10 and love you for it. So
right, absolutely. We certainly appreciate and acknowledge every person who donates $1 or more. We have no paid staff. We are tiny at this point, and we operate with volunteer labor at this point. And in fact, almost, I'd say, every service that we make use of has discounted their rates in acknowledgement of that.
No, we just wish you the best of luck. We're hoping we can get this first one out so we can concentrate on the second, third, and fourth one. But welcome back. It's great to see you again. Mr. Z, you're up, brother man.
Thank you, brother man. Appreciate that. Good morning to you, Steph, and everybody here. Hello, world. My name is Z, or you can call me Mr. Z. I am a web developer, and I am also a consultant that specializes in helping nonprofits, family-owned, and veteran-owned businesses who are looking to modify, maintain, develop, or redevelop a custom website Z World is waiting for. Back to you, brother man.
Short, sweet, like always, just never takes enough time to take the credit he deserves. And I am not the only one who says that, but another gentleman who never takes enough time to take the credit he deserves is my buddy Trevor. How are you doing, Trevor?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself?
Doing okay, doing okay.
Good. I don't know many people.
Getting ready for a very interesting conversation here in a little bit. I think we're going to
That's
talk about
great.
Brits with beards.
Oh, you mean like some Yanks with beards too? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just waiting for our representative, One Hope Wine, to come with a beard one day.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
She could do that, but I don't think that. I don't know. She'd still look good. So, tell us a little bit about Charity Revolution, my friend.
Well, Charity Revolution is a marketing company. Like myself, I've been marketing for 20 odd years and found that one of the areas where most nonprofits seem to need that little bit of extra help. So Charity Revolution was created with the what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know what the word I'm thinking of. My mind's gone blank. But the idea was that being a kind-hearted person and always wanted to give back and help the community, it was a way to bring charities into the realms of marketing their charity so that they could get out there, get the word out there, find ways of doing things on a more economic way without having to be scared away by saying, oh, go and talk to a marketer. Because, you know, we all know that marketers are great at what they're doing, but for some reason, charities and marketing seem to be far distant from each other. But when you're out there looking for a donation or looking for support, that's what you're really doing. It's just the language has changed. The functionality is very much, you know, we're out here, we want to be exposed, we want recognition, and in that return for what we're doing, if you can support us with either some time, which is the most valuable element that we all have, but if you can't give some time, maybe a little bit of money so we can get other people to share their time with us. And that's what Charity Revolution does.
Thank you very much for joining us. I greatly appreciate it. And on behest of one of our family here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me because I guess I don't do that enough, but Stephanie was bringing that up. But my name is Zach Clayton. I started Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care 9 years ago. I was run off the road on my motorcycle. And matter of fact, guys, I am 7 days away for it being 9 years. So we're coming up on my birthday again. So, you know, but it's the younger birthday. It's not like the normal birthday where I sit there and go, oh God, it's another year and I feel it. But and what we do is we try to raise money for great organizations by teaming with great organizations. You shop with Trevor, we can support Patrick. You shop with Z, we can support Dennis. You shop with Stephanie, we support other nonprofits. It's wonderful what we do because what we're doing is we're putting together a database of very, very strong people with other people who have different strengths, and we're working together to make this world a little bit better. And so if you'd like a little bit more, we would love to have a conversation with you. My card is on the bottom of the screen, or just go to communitypayitforward.us, and you can see the wonderful work of a couple of the gentlemen that we work with right now. Mr. Z is our webmaster, and we often have Trevor look through and make sure that we're not doing anything wrong, and you know, ask him to rap upon my skull if I do something that's out there that's not supposed to be out there. So But and Trevor's never one to shy away from rapping me upon the skulls, so which is a good thing. But Zach Clayton,
All in
community
good
pay it
taste.
forward. Yep. You can always reach out to me 970-909-0751 970-909-0751. Hey guys, as guys and gal, we were talking earlier a little bit before a couple of you guys came on, but we do not have a guest today. And we are hoping that our viewers want to get involved with this. We kind of want to go in a direction of we're going to look at the way that the world is today and maybe talk about some of the problems that we notice that are out there and some of the things that we see as problematic and putting pressures on people that don't need to be there. One of the things that we were all talking about, and this is right down everybody's area really, because it seems to me like we're putting a lot of pressures on kids nowadays. And this is absolutely in no way, please understand, this is not bashing any groups or anything. But I think right now what we're asking kids to do is we're asking kids to make choices that none of us were asked to make at the age that they're asked to make now. Okay. I remember my parents telling me, you don't even need to be thinking about sex until after you graduate. Well, I was a teenage boy, so I thought of it way before graduation, but now we're asking kids to make a life decision in grade school almost. And Z, I want to ask you this because you really, really work hard to make sure that everyone is included and everyone has their rights, as which I think we all do. But do you see this as a problem that we're asking kids to make a decision when it comes to sexuality way too young? Or do you think that we're on course and we're doing it right?
All I can say is these kids are still developing their learning habits, and what they're exposed to could be influenced by their futures. And I can't say how to raise kids, but all I can say is these kids are very impressionable, especially on social media and what they see and what they're exposed to. And if anyone disagrees, by all means, I'm open to your thoughts. And long story short, I just think these kids, I guess, don't know any but better, and what they're influenced by isn't by the right information. I mean, I'm no child expert by any means, so I'm gonna kick it back
Well,
to
I
you.
just really find it kind of weird. And Dennis, what is your thought on this? We ask a kid to go from watching Barney to tell me what your deepest, darkest thoughts are, and let's make a decision on who you are right now, even though you haven't had a chance to experience everything in this world.
Well, I think it's a terrible mistake that our society is making. I think it's going to have very negative consequences for a whole lot of these young people as they grow older. I mean, I can remember things that I thought and choices that I made without these kind of pressures when I was young that I regret. And I think everybody has had that experience. Man,
Yeah.
I was really, I really didn't know what the heck I was doing or what was I thinking. And they are asking kids to make even more significant and lifelong kinds of changes and decisions that they just shouldn't be asking them to do. So it's from a from a faith standpoint, as well as just thinking about it from a sociological standpoint, this is something I think that society here in the United States and wherever else in the world it's going on is going to live to regret.
Trevor, let me ask you, because you're from a different society, and let's be honest, European nations are far more open with sexuality than we are here in the States. We're damn near prudish when it comes to some of this stuff.
Yes,
What
you are.
Yeah, well, we truly are, I mean,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that you like? What is your opinion on what's going on? And tell me, like compare and contrast maybe a little bit.
All right. Well, there's two elements here that I want to start off addressing. One, what the age of the children that we're relating to? Because, at the end of school, most children cannot know how to use a credit card and a checkbook. And that's a responsibility that we all have for life. So how can you expect them to make a decision on what type of relationship they want? I can't seem to balance that one in my head very well, and pardon the pun about balancing, especially with a checkbook. But when you've got in the simplistic form, a male form and a female form, and we want to talk about the concepts of how we reproduce, you need one or the other. And I've come up with this question in debate and say, well, okay, because there are like 72 or 76 other types of genders, if we wanted to have a child, which other gender do I need to be with to make that child? Do I need number 42 and a 46 is compatible with myself? Or do I have to go back to the original male or female? I think we're starting to open up way too many questions and combinations of things that is just not appropriate for a child. Now, I'm not saying they should be excluded or hidden from it, but let them make their own choice. Let it be that, you are a male, you are a female, these are the bodies. Now, what your desire to do in private life is another element. In the same way, we can't deny an Oriental or an African person from the shade of their skin or the shape of their eyes. That is it. They're born like that. And how we adapt and address them can be, well, you are from an African origin, you're from an Asian origin. I'm from theoretically a European origin. I don't know what that really means. I don't have an identity. And going back to your second part of the question, saying, are we more liberal in the UK or in Europe? Yes. When it comes to seeing the naked form, it doesn't bother us. Because if you think about now, Stephanie, I believe you're a mother. How do you feel about your children seeing your family members undressed? You don't think anything odd about it. So if the children are growing up in the home, seeing the naked form, why is there a problem all of a sudden when they get to the age of puberty and all of a sudden we've got all the hormones shooting off? It shouldn't be the point of, well, we've gone to the beach and look, this beach is topless, or this lady here or this gentleman here are changing their swimming costumes. Well, if we're all built the same way physically, either as a male form or female form, we haven't got a problem. I've been to beaches when I was rampant with the hormones, and there were people sat there with either their tops off or changing their bikinis. Did it mean that I had to shout out and be abusive or vulgar? No. You just took it because it wasn't the appropriate place or the appropriate time. And I think the more you hide this, and I've seen this on American TV, you have a woman with a very large chest. So therefore she wears a t-shirt and there's some cleavage showing. So there it is on a news article, and we're now putting the blur effect over the cleavage. But for every child, they've seen cleavage of any woman walking down the street or even at home. So why is TV in one sense trying to build, oh, you shouldn't notice it? Because whatever you hide makes people curious. And I'm sure we've all done this to summarize, oh, look at the park bench. It says wet paint. Is it? Let me touch it and find out.
Yeah. Stephanie, you and I did have a conversation about this. You not only are a mother, now you have two daughters, and so you have a very very different responsibility than I do. You know, when it comes to that. But you know, some of this stuff is very uncomfortable as you as for you as a mother when you have somebody coming into a locker room with young girls.
Right. Well, back to Trevor's question. Yeah, my kids took baths together for like a very long time, up until like more recently, actually, maybe longer than they should have, but it was their choice to stop, not mine. They decided, you know, when they started to get uncomfortable with it. And I've spent a lot of time in preschools with my traveling gymnastics program over the years. Like this was my previous business. I serviced those schools for so many years, and there were 4-year-old boys that played with Barbies. You just didn't draw attention to it. It was normal. They were exploring. They were, you know, like role playing. They were playing with their friends. It wasn't such a big deal. And they grew out of it and then explored other things. So I guess there's a lot more attention being drawn to things like that now. That, I mean, I wouldn't freak out if my 3.5-year-old was playing with dolls. In fact, he watches girly shows with my daughter all the time. You know, it's okay. You know, they're learning, they're exploring. You know, I think about the things that Patrick is doing with his group of kids and giving them the tools to be who they want. And this might be a different like spin on your question a little bit, but I think that a lot of this is like pressures to condition the kids, to push them into specific, you know, even careers. Cause I know Patrick is like really letting them explore like different avenues for, you know, different things that they enjoy. And kids have this great imagination, you know. I don't know. If you watch a baby trying to walk, they go, they fall, they go again, they fall, you know. And I think that all the pressures, the world, the environment, the social media influence, everything that changes these kids as they go on, where like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go again. Maybe I shouldn't, you know. If you think about a baby, they're constantly like going after what they want, you know. Think of a toddler. How many times will they ask you for that freaking cookie until you're finally like, okay, take the cookie, take the cookie. But I think that the consistency with just trying to mold these kids, that influences and changes their direction over time. So I know that this is a different standpoint of what you were asking, but I think it's
no, this is fine. And by the way, that's only a good parent. I'm the bad parent. I would just eat the cookie and then the kid would have to shut up. So, you know, but I
love that Patrick is having these kids continue to dream and helping assist them in what those dreams are, like, you know, like the planning that he was having them do and stuff, and the mind mapping. Like, keep the kids freaking dreaming, man, about what interests them, you know, no matter how crazy it sounds, you know, because I feel like the world is going to shut them down at some point. Like, good luck, you know. No, like, support them and let them go after what they want. I think there's a lot of molding even into specific careers, because that's what the country needs, right? But it's not maybe what that person needs. So I don't know. But yes, when it comes to schools and specifically elementary schools, I think that should remain with education, and there are certain conversations that should be had at home.
Well, I think, you know, and I truly believe this, Patrick, and I want to bring you in on this. I believe that everybody should have the right. We live in America. We should have the right to do what we want. You know what? If we're comfortable, or if we're uncomfortable in our own skin, by the way, who here has not at some point in time been uncomfortable in our own skin? Every single one of us has. Okay. We just need to allow kids to be kids and stop pressuring them to make some of these adult decisions. I mean, I think it's kind of funny that we're asking kids to, one, you know, give us your, give us your his, her, whatever that is. And oh, by the way, also sign up to die at 18, yet you haven't lived yet. You know, we're not allowing them to live. And Patrick, you deal with kids every day, and you were saying a little bit earlier that these kids they're suffering from it. You're on mute.
Yep, that age-old mute. I'm going to do this first before I speak, because I'm not going to apologize for what I say. Then, Father, I thank you for this day and this opportunity to be able to speak, Lord. I pray that you remove me from me and my opinions, Lord, but only speak your truth, and to be wise, but also to be bold in the things that I say, and because my accountability is to you first before any man, woman, or child. In your name I pray. Amen. So, man, I think the problem is, here's the thing, right? If any of you were to come to my house and start to have a sexual conversation with my kid, right? You probably won't walk out of that house alive, right? If I was to walk into your house and just start having a conversation about what I think sex should be like for your kid, insinuating anything, coming into the bathroom with your kid and using the bathroom and just being like, hey, my body's free, you can just look at it and all that other kind of stuff, you would kill me. That would be the fact. Am I wrong in that? I'm not wrong in that. And so we have taken kind of a passive way of thinking because we don't want to go against what the world is doing when it comes to this, because that's exactly what they're doing. They're coming into, the thing is that until your child leaves the home, you are their fortress. You are the gatekeeper of everything that comes into their mind and that affects their soul. You as a parent, me as a parent, we are the gatekeepers. And what I have seen, and from what these kids tell me, that we as parents have lost the keys to the gate. We have lost we have stopped holding the door, and when there's holes in the walls, we've quit patching them. That's the truth of things. And so right now what's happening is the kids are being bombarded and being bombarded. The world knows if you want to really occupy a country, or you really want to do that, you don't just go just straight out and just go to war and then like send everybody into the fight. You don't do that. They do it slowly by indoctrination, right? So you go after the hearts and minds of the people. You go after the children. You go after you start changing the mind of generations. So you play the long game, because then you lose less people, and then the people fight themselves, and the people they are the ones that turn each other in and fight against each other. That's how you actually accomplish that goal without having to fire a shot, right? And so that's what's happening in America right now. When I'm dealing with these kids, I have never seen depression and anxiety and all that stuff on a level. I've never seen it on the level that I've seen it in 3 years. Like, I got injured in 3 years time. It was worse than what I've been doing in ministry for almost 10 years. It was actually almost 3 to 5 times worse in 3 years time, or a 2 years time actually, of being on my back, getting back up, getting back into the school system, dealing with these kids. It's almost 3 to 5 times worse than before that happened. That is in 3 years. That is insane. The fact that we have to have this conversation and even be talking about that, be talking about this is shameful. It's shameful on another level, that this is something that we have to consider talking about, is whether our kids can use a bathroom, our girls can go use a bathroom with a man, and then like we all know the implications of what that's going to do and the purposes of it and what happens in those places when that happens, right? We all know the dangers, but then we don't have the courage to be like, oh, this is not going to be allowed. We talk about it, but we don't do anything about it. And I'm watching the kids suffer because of it, because we have lost our way to do something about it. Because me saying this is going to cost me something. This is the fact of life. It's going to cost me something to take this stance. But I'd rather it cost me than that 14-year-old girl, that 9-year-old girl, or my daughter, or your daughters and your kids. I'd rather it cost me. I'd rather pay the price, because once they pay the price, they can never be unpaid, because that's what happened to me as a little boy. I took the cost and it messed me up for my entire life. So we have too many people that feel the same way, right? The fact that, the fact that my right as a parent or as an adult to tell to the thing is, um, our rights are being taken away just to actually protect our kids. And that's a nefarious agenda and plot that's happening. And they can call it whatever they want to call it. They can call it tolerance, they can call it all that. But there's no tolerance for me to say, I don't want this for my child and I have to accept this. No, that should not be so. That's not tolerance. That's actually tyranny. That's actually you being able to dictate to me what I can do, but then I can't dictate, I can't protect my own child. And so these kids are telling me to my face that they cannot stand this. This is killing them. But then what they have to go through in school, where the teachers will say, will persecute them, their principals will persecute them, their own schoolmates will persecute them for just being like, well, I don't like, they don't, a lot of them don't believe in that kind of stuff. They know that they're a boy, they know that there's a girl, they know that a freaking banana goes into the donut and that's the only way it works. That's the facts. But then, like, if they have that opinion and that's what they feel, then they are not allowed to actually feel that, or you're shamed, you're ostracized. And then you want to talk about the books and the stuff that's being poured into our kids' minds. Like, like, it's just, let's just put it plain and simple. If I was to bring a book that talks about rape and all that kind of stuff, like here's a book, Perks of Being a Wallflower, that is like rape scenes and just how things are discussed in that book is an absolute craziness. But then it's allowed in the schools, for in the libraries, for kids to be able to read, right? And then so, but if I was to actually come to your house and sit down with your child and read that book, you'd put me straight in jail and wouldn't think twice about it. Bury the key up in the door. You wouldn't even bury the key. You'd melt that sucker down. I probably wouldn't even make it to the jail. And
That is, Patrick, that's actually a really, really good point, because there are a lot of these things that, I'm not one for banning books, but I am definitely one for age appropriate.
Yes, absolutely. Age appropriate. The
Age
things that are
appropriate.
happening.
And I think that's where a lot of this is going. Are we, and Stephanie, are we afraid of other people? Are we afraid of what they think on how we're parenting? Are we allowing other people to exactly what Patrick said? Are we allowing them to shame us into being parents?
Like Patrick was saying, when there are too many holes in the walls, you quit patching them, right? And I think parents are so busy working They're so busy working. Look at the prices of everything, guys. Look at the prices that have gone up. Families are struggling, just to make ends meet. They're so busy working to be really involved with their kids, really involved with their kids' school, who their friends are, who their friends' parents are. And I think that that's a big problem, because the kids then are getting the influence from their long days at school. When they're done with school, they come home, their screen time. What are they getting from their screen time? How much of their day is really influenced from their parents? Are they having dinner around the table, or are they having dinner on the go? What does it normally look like for an American family? I feel like the time with the parents is probably a very small percentage of their day. I don't know if you guys would agree with that or not, but I think for the majority, parents are working over 12-hour days with their commute and everything else. Of course, it's going to vary depending on where in the country and all of that. But I think that they're too busy working to stop and pay attention to what's actually going on. And just in the conversations that I've had recently, I think that some people are still just learning that these topics are coming up also, not even aware that this is a conversation being had. So,
Dennis, you just had a daughter that just got married. I know that my kids are a little bit older, and this wasn't as prevalent, but I mean, it was there. But it was really one of those things that I'd like to get your opinion on this, but I always told my sons, you know what? I'm going to love you no matter what you choose, but make sure that you choose wisely. Make sure you understand what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, these issues were definitely not in the forefront when my kids were growing up. I mean, my youngest child is 32, so it's been a while. But absolutely, I mean, my approach to my kids was always to I'm going to give you the benefit of my experience and what wisdom I have. But ultimately, this is your life, and it's what you do with your life is going to be up to you. And I tried to support and empower them in everything that they chose. And they all knew that I would love them no matter what direction that they went, and they still know that. Even as adults. What I was just trying to put into our sidebar chat here, something that I think sometimes there are elements of wisdom from eons ago that ring true today. And I saw a quote attributed to Marcus Aurelius that says, the object of life is to not be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding yourself in the ranks of the insane. And I believe that rings so true today. I think that when we cave to groupthink of the majority, currently it's on the left, but we can probably all think back to things in history when it was on a different political side, that we can be truly amongst those who are insane. And I think that is absolutely what's going on right now.
Yeah. Trevor, you bring, and I'm just going to read this out because I shared it in the comments, a problem that everyone wants to be alike. So they'll avoid conflict or expressing an opinion that goes against the majority. But as a parent, you have the right to teach the right from wrong. And now that kids, now let the kids decide. I love that, because you're not, look, we all want what's best for our kids, but let's be honest, we're going to push them towards what's best for us in a little way. Okay. We're going to want our kids to be a lawyer over a circus performer. maybe our children want to be a circus performer, and there's nothing. Well, I'll say there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm yeah, but and that's all due respect to all you circus performers out there. But I mean, you guys are talented, a hell of a lot more talented than I am. But I love the way that we are scared.
It's so true. I noticed this even today as adults. Whether it's a political view or whether it's a social view, you think twice before you comment now. And people don't allow people to have different views. If you don't like it, what do? I unfriend you. You know, so what's the point of that? Because I'm not going to learn other people's opinion. Now, something else popped into my mind, which changed when I was at school. And I don't know if this still is a topic taught at school, but think about it. Is religion still taught at school today? No, it's not in England. Hasn't been since the early 80s. You know, we started understanding about religion. Well, I was C of E, so therefore it was a C of E biased thought process. But then all of a sudden, well, hang on a minute, what about all those that are not? So instead of teaching all religions and all point of views, no, we'll just take it all away. We'll just hide it away. And now I feel that I lacked a lot of, let's say, Christian teaching because they took it away. Now, if we take away the training of people, the art of being afraid to speak your mind without consequence, the fear of that is so impelled upon us that when it comes to, let's say, talk about politics, I think I feel safer talking about politics and upsetting somebody than I would about talking about religion.
Z?
You dropped the atom bomb on that one, Butter.
Mhm. Yes.
You did.
Z, again, as somebody who doesn't have kids, but you are younger than the good majority of us here. You know what? So I mean, I think you and Stephanie were probably right around in school about the same time. Are you seeing a difference in the way that the way that kids are growing up now than when you were growing up?
Yeah, a lot of good points that everyone is saying, and things were a lot different back then than it is now. And I guess we just have to second guess ourselves in the circus that we're kind of thrown in. Yeah.
What would be your suggestion on what can we do to try to, I don't know if right this ship is a good way to put it, but I'm going to put it that way. You know, what do we need to do to remember that we've got to let kids be kids? And we have a responsibility to kind of slow them down sometimes. It's like, wait a minute, don't, until you explore, it's like one of the things we're bringing up politics here. One of the things that I've always told my kids is, don't say that somebody's stupid when it comes to politics unless you have a reason to say they're stupid, because every politician's stupid. I'm sorry. But you got to experience it, right?
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Like everything I said, I don't believe. Like, okay, yeah, it might hit on some politics, but I'm no politician. Yeah, I'm no politician. I could care less. I mean, it's important to know, but that's just not what this is about. It's not about politics. Um, but it is about, man, just the God-given common sense that God's given us, and the right that is our freedom to be able to speak what is true and what is right, and to have those opinions, we've lost the art of being able to just talk to each other, and disagree and be able to keep my boundaries. Like there's no such thing as boundaries anymore. Like all that's being torn down. My boundary is that none of y'all get to talk to my kids about their sexual orientation. Nobody gets to do that except for me because the word of God says fathers raise your children. That's my job. Period. Nobody else's. That's my responsibility, my God-given right. Period. Nobody else gets that say. But if I take that stand, right? And the thing is, Trevor, you brought up something, you said something really, really good earlier, man, when you were just like, people are afraid because, like, yeah, nowadays taking a certain stand can cost you your job. Um, to be honest, it can get you banned, it can get you canceled. I mean, it's so easy for that to happen now. And then that fact alone should really, in my heart, that fact alone makes me take a harder stance because what I've learned in life and what I've seen in just uh in the world and when it comes to evil especially, right? Evil usually you don't have people that just go, we're gonna just do this evil thing and just bring it on. It's this thing that is it's allowed over time. And then when it's implemented and when it's taking its whole grips and it has everything just bound up where it can't do anything, then when it clamps its jaws, right? That's when people want to struggle to get out of it. But the thing is, it's been closing around them the whole time, and then they wasn't able to do anything to that. And so when you think about like what happened when it came to how the Jews got exterminated, you know what I mean? And were being exterminated, that was because over time this indoctrination thing happened. And then when it happened, the jaws shut. Well, then now you have millions of people dying over something that I mean, in human nature just shouldn't have happened, right? It shouldn't have happened whatsoever because there should have been enough common sense to be like, man, we shouldn't be putting all these people in ovens and everything else and doing all this crazy kind of stuff. There should have been this thing that happened in people in society that was just like, this is not going to happen. But this is what until the jaws shut. And now we had to lose millions more lives because now people had to rise up and fight against what was already starting to be clamped down, right? And so that's what's happening right now in our kids. It's like, it's okay to be scared, but my daughter, right? My daughter, I don't want to, I do not like putting her business out there. But there's a point in her life where she was just really struggling mentally and emotionally and physically. And at that point, it was either do I be a father and just go about my business and do my own thing, or do I take off and put everything I can into her to help her to help inform her of who she is so she can live and survive. What are my choices? I have a human being, a daughter right here, that's more important. That's the truth of things. I can find other work, I can do something else, but I don't get another daughter. I don't get another child. And so we have, so the thing is, I'm very desperate about this because I'm watching kids die. It's not just a theory. I'm watching kids talking about at 9, 10 years old, talking about they don't want to live because of these issues. And they're getting younger and younger. Now I'm dealing with them from the ages of 6 to 12. Like I didn't know. I I was I think the worst thing I was thinking about was like maybe touching a boob or something.
Yeah.
And I was like 16, like you know what I mean? I'm like, oh a boob, that was it. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't dealing with like, I had some stuff that was going on, but it wasn't like how it is today, where kids are just literally like offing themselves and all over the world they're jumping off of buildings and you got the parties in Japan and I went and researched that. That's crazy. And they're young doing this. So the issue is not it's okay to be scared, but it's worse not to do something. Like being
Right.
scared is part of every single person and warrior's life that's on the planet. Being scared is part of the human experience. but it's when we do not do anything, when we sit and we let things happen. So so like a lion comes in, like you're a caveman, a lion comes into the cave and starts tearing up your people. Well, it's okay to be scared that that lion came into that cave. What's not okay is if you don't pick up your spear and go kill that freaking lion. And so that's really the common sense that we kind of have to have. Not kind of have to have, we desperately need to have right now for our children, is to start being lions about our children. Right now, we're not, that is not the case of what I see. I can tell every week, how hard it is for so you had Joanna on here before, right? She wants to inform so many people about what's going on with the library thing. But the crazy thing about it is the more that you tell parents, the more they're like, "Nah, that's not right. That's crazy. That can't be happening." Or they won't even come to the actual meetings and show up and do something about it. But then they cry foul when their kids and their stuff and these agendas are coming up. They have so we I can't. I've been to so many of these kind of conversations, but then no action comes out of those conversations. The fact of it is we're having this conversation, we know what's wrong, then there's some measure of accountability that we should be taking for ourselves. That's the fact. That's what should be happening. And the fact that we don't, because football, basketball, all their other daily things, sometimes, to be honest, our jobs and all that kind of stuff, even though it's the source of our money, and it's not a condemnation thing. I'm not saying go quit your job because your kids, whatever. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, if the world is so willing to go so far to take your kid, how far are you willing to go to get your kid back? That is where you have to really honestly ask the question. And it's I believe that I'm called to say those things because it's the things that people are really afraid to say. And I'm just, it's the thing is I've already died once. There's nothing else none of y'all out there can do anything to me personally. It's already happened. So there's nothing you can do to me to make me not be bold enough to say what's true. And so it's just that simple. How far are you willing to go get your kid back? To stop this from happening to your kid, to keep your kid alive, to keep your kid from being depressed. And then what it says, you should love your neighbor as yourself. So how far are you willing to go so that your neighbor doesn't have to suffer the same thing as your kid? That is what we've lost as a society, is our to love our neighbor as ourselves. So as long as it doesn't happen to my kid, I put my kid in private school, I do this, then forget about all those other kids over there that don't have the same rights and abilities and stuff that you have. So, like, are you willing to fight for even those kids? And imagine a world where that was the case and people stood up and people were bold and people were like, imagine if you was a mom that just, like, your kid's suffering in this way, but then you have this job. Yeah, if you say this is wrong and you don't agree with this, like, what will you say if something happens to your child and you could have done something different about it? What can you say?
And you kept silent. Look, I think the biggest thing about all of this, and we need to go through and do our what we learned today real quick, but and then Dennis, you had an announcement that you wanted to make. But I think the biggest thing that we can do as adults is we can do exactly what we've done here. We've had 6 of us that are in different stages of life, different areas, from different places on earth, different political affiliations, different backgrounds. We were all able to sit here and calmly discuss this. None of us have a kid sitting next to us right now that would have listened to this conversation and flipped out because they thought we were trying to hold them back. We were able to sit here and discuss this like adults, and I think that we need to do that a little bit more.
Amen.
Absolutely.
So, Trevor, what did you learn today, my friend?
What did I learn today? I learned that we should be talking more like this openly, not only to ourselves. Don't be afraid to talk when it comes to children. Let them have this conversation too. Listen to this type of
Yes.
conversation. It's down to education. You know, there is wrong, there is right, and that's easy to address. But when the information source, when I say, well, the sky is green, and I can be right until you prove me wrong. But you have to accept that you may be wrong in your thinking. And that's the challenge, I think, that we have. But that's the thing that we should embrace.
Yes.
Very good, Trevor. And thank you for bringing up that the kids need to be part of this conversation. That's something that we did not, I didn't bring up, and that's very true. Stephanie?
I think that these are all really, really great points, and Trevor shared some things that I agree with too. But yeah, I think we just have to be open and willing to communicate and be open to other people's views. Just continue the conversation and just keep the kids safe, man. This conversation should be for the older kids.
Yeah. Patrick?
For me, it's I guess from the group, from especially what Trevor was saying, sometimes when you get into the fight of things, right, and you're just seeing these things happen, and you're seeing it from like the bottom, the ground, the actual battle, right? Sometimes you can forget those things about, like, man, the parents are scared and stuff like that. In my mind, I guess it would be like you don't have time to be scared. You just don't. That's really how I feel about it. But then, like, everybody's not built that same way. Like, they're just not. And those things are important. And then also having that conversation with the kids, that is one of the most important things, because you'd be so surprised on how they feel about things. And then for Stephanie, as far as that's one thing that's really important. It's just welcoming other people's points of view, like being very open-minded. The reason I can take this stance is because I have listened to a lot of people, but then there is common sense. There is just, well, there's an alligator right there, and then there's a clear path. Well, do I go step in the path of the alligator and just be like, to be okay, take my chances? Or do I, go this crazy path? That's why my black behind don't go to the ocean and get in the water. That's why y'all get bit up by sharks. Because of that right there.
I had a really good friend. I had a really good friend that I was over the road truck driving with, Patrick, and he told me once a little nugget of wisdom that I think that you would like. He said, "You know why you never find that black people go missing in the woods? Because black people don't go missing in the woods or messing in the woods." So he was like, "That's the reason why we don't go missing." So, but. I just wanted to add, just hold conversations. Let's just, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of your political stances, regardless of any of that, these are problems that our kids are dealing with today. Okay. Yes. As scary as it is, sometimes the kids are our future. And we need to make sure that we're allowing them to express themselves. But you know what? When you have to slow them down, you have to slow them down. Dennis, you had some news for us, and then you wanted then I need to get your thoughts.
Okay. Well, actually, let me talk about what you asked everybody else here about today's conversation. That is that, we live in very difficult times, and we have some challenges that we're facing that previous generations didn't have to face. And I think it does call for what I see as a need that is lacking in so many areas is a need to have civil conversations with people you disagree with entirely. And that's something that I was taught and that I
Yeah.
learned to develop. And I mean, sometimes, and I don't know where the balance really is to this, but we have a First Amendment that says we can say whatever we want to say, but sometimes if I'm just shooting from the hip, I'm going to be saying it in a way that's going to really hurt or offend somebody else. So I've always tried to be thoughtful about what I'm going to say before I say it. And I think that skill is something that is lacking in a lot of areas in this world. Now, the good news I wanted to share, it's a little bit of good news because I see it as something really positive about the whole subject of helping people to decide to stay around with us another day. This morning, before I came on here, I had to go to the hospital where I'm going to have my surgery on Wednesday and do some preoperative blood work and other stuff. And while I was in there, they had a whole list of questions about my health history, etc. But they asked a question I have never had asked from a healthcare provider before. And that is, have you ever in your lifetime attempted or made a plan to harm yourself and or had thoughts about it? I was blown away because I was able to talk about the fact that yes, I did at 17, have the gun to my head, etc., and talked a little bit about the years of depression and suicidal ideation that I'd had while I was in the Army, and the fact that I have not had those kind of thoughts in a very long time. But the fact that that is now a routine question that they are asking every patient before they go into surgery, I think is a phenomenally good step towards what we all want to see happen. So
I agree with you.
I don't know if it's outside of the Sumner Regional Medical Center system or not, but I think that was just really, really, really good news. And I, in a subject that is sad and oftentimes not good news, I wanted to share that.
Thank you so very much. And hey guys, I know that this was us kind of stepping a little bit out of our comfort area, but this is what we've got to do. And I think that I think in a roundabout way, this is what we were all talking about. We can't just let other people say things and just sit back and watch it happen. We have to speak up. We have to speak up for our kids. So let's just be there for them. Hey, we will be joined next week by an individual I met a couple weeks ago. And once again, when we talk about what we talk about, we are going to explore everything there is when it comes to healing. And Diamond, she goes by Diamond Drip, has found relief in using mushrooms, and we're going to be talking about the healing mushrooms that she has experienced. So again, next week's going to be a little controversial, but it's extremely helpful to some people out there. For my family, for our family, we want to thank you very much for joining us. Please, if you ever have any questions, send us an email. All of us are here to talk. Please remember that suicide is final, and just keep moving forward. And we will see you next week right here on Footprints Forward. Thank you very much. Have a great day.